No, I'm quite happy to go, mate. I'm quite happy to go. Let's have it. Let's do it right now. I can get a hard case. You're jacked up in the Coca-Cola there, all hyped up in the back end of the king-size marathon that you got a bit off your feather. I did say marathon. Am I showing my age? I'll tell you my age. 48 years. 48 years I've been coming to this stadium. Aye. What about you? How many times? It's your first game of the day, was it? Aye. Coming in here and taking all our pies and taking all our Coca-Cola and that kind of stuff. Shove your vuvuzela up your nappy. No, let me out the pram, hen. Let me out the pram. It's no problem. And your ma holding you back. Tourists. It's no 5-0 every week, you know. We don't win 5-0 every week. You got to come to the hard games as well if you want to earn it. Hi folks, yes, we'll start with the snagging list from my preview pod I did on Friday night, previewing this tie today against Fraserburgh in the Scottish Cup. Made a little bit of a mistake there. I was talking about Danilo being injured, and he is injured. The manager confirmed that in Friday's pre-match press conference, but I was oh god, that's him. He's not going to get to play against Manchester United. Typical. He's just building up a relationship with Igaman, sitting in behind him there, reaping a few goals. Good movement from him, and now he's not going to get to play at Old Trafford in a game that we really need all hands to the pump. What an absolute shame. Typical Rangers. And it was Nick. Thanks, Nick. Nick Webb, good man, total hero of this here wee podcast, the Fat Egg podcast, where we've all got the clap, but the clap is happy. Nick got in touch to say he's not in the European squad. Alex, doesn't really matter. It's like one of the moments on Pointless, you know, where they at the end where they don't get the point. The folk that are in the final on Pointless don't get the pointless answers. But if they said one of the pointless answers during the kind of consultation they're having with each other, and they get the minute to work out their answer in the final, that's more frustrating when they don't put it into. They don't give one of the options that they mentioned as actually a pointless answer. They don't put it into the three final answers. Is that kind of frustration? Like, I mean, Danilo is still injured and that's no good, but it's not quite as bad because he wouldn't have been going to Old Trafford anyway. So that's snagging item there. I think there's going to be a few snagging items in this one today because I fell asleep a few times during that first half. But something that's not a snagging item, wasn't a mistake, but something that I wish I had mentioned. Beautiful minute silence today for the lawman, for Denis Law. And on Friday night, I just found out just before I did the pod on Friday night that Denis Law had passed away at the age of 84. Scotland's only Ballon d'Or, Scotland's only European Footballer of the Year. And I just wish I'd mentioned a wee thing. If you watch me in those pods that I'm doing from a converted outside toilet, I do the ones from the house. I've got some books behind me, and one of the books is Goliath, and that's your first snagging list item for the Manchester United preview pod, which will hopefully be coming out on Wednesday, is to find out the name of the author of that book. That's terrible. I reviewed the book last year for Jersnet. Yes, there is a book review section on Jersnet. Get in there. And I reviewed Gallus for Frankie. And it's a book all about the day Scotland beat England at Wembley in 1967, April 67, the day we beat the reigning world champions, who hadn't lost to anybody else since being crowned world champions, as Scotland done there and wiped the floor with them at Wembley. Jim Baxter conducting the orchestra, and Denis Law scoring one of the goals. Jim McCalliog and Bobby Lennox, I think, was it, with the other two goals. So in that book, one of the facts I picked up from that I thought was really interesting was the day that we lost to England at Wembley in 1961, where they beat us 9-3. 9-3. Denis Law, that's why Denis Law was kind of falling out slightly with Jim Baxter in 67, because Jim just wanted to keep you uppies and give them a football humiliation, whereas Denis Law was like, no, let's get the scoreline ratcheted up while we're dominating them like this, because he'd played in that game in 61, but he didn't have to. He was a Manchester City player at the time, Denis Law, his first spell at Man City, and they were playing West Ham at the bowling ground. They were playing Upton Park that day, Manchester City, and the Man City manager wanted him to play. There was the Old English First Division games were going on the same day, and Denis Law was wanted by Man City, but he refused. He just wanted to play for his country, so he was there taking on the humiliations, the same as any other Scot. Denis Law. I think it might be a small part of the fact that so many people, like myself, I never saw Denis Law playing. I've been talking about David Lynch. He died the day before. Of course, he died on Thursday. Denis Law passing away on Friday. David Lynch, more a kind of personal hero for myself, because you get so involved in his films, seen some of his films when they first come out and all that, deep delving into them. And Denis Law, you know the stats, you know the facts about his career, you know the stuff he'd done, you've seen the records, but I never watched him play, and I never really grew up with him, and but it was really weird. I think a lot of people I was talking to, people in the feedback section on the pod, but also just in general, folks saying, I never saw him playing, but it's hit me quite hard, the Denis Law thing. And I think it's just, he was such an icon, because he's one of the few people that really returned the passion that Scotland has for the game. I mean, Denis Law will have played in some of the games at Hampden. The crowd's well over 100,000. Hampden has set so many European crowd records. This beautiful stadium I was in today, this beautiful stadium behind me today, I said crowds over, it's the biggest league crowd at a stadium that's not national. I don't know if it's 118,000 here back in the 30s for Rangers against Celtic. So the per capita attendance record, I think, is between Brazil, Albania and Scotland for the world, for football all over the world. It's the most people per head of population going to games consistently over the years. We've grabbed that record every now and then over the years. It's a massive, massive passion we have for the game in this country, but our national team has just never reflected that. Rangers and Celtic and Aberdeen, you know, lots of Scottish teams overachieving in Europe. Dunfermline, Kilmarnock getting to European semi-finals, Dundee getting to European semi-finals, Dundee United getting to a European final. Really overachieving for the size of population. A lot of our clubs in Europe, but the Scotland national team has just let us down time after time in the modern age since the start of the World Cup, basically. That's kind of segued beautifully with the downturn in the fortunes of the Scotland national team. But there was, with Kenny Dalglish scoring the winner on the European Cup final at Wembley, and winning a couple of European Cups. Souness also captain a European Cup winning team, but it's all English clubs, not the Nottingham Forest team. John McGovern not even get a look in with the Scotland national team, and he's lifting 2 successive European Cups and stuff like that. With great players throughout the years, but there was doing great things on the pitch. The Lisbon Lions, of course, Tommy Gemmell, first Briton to score in 2 different finals of the European Cup or the Champions League. Amazing stuff for Scottish players in the English club scene or even in the Scottish club scene. But the national team really letting us down. I think it's up there with Celtic winning the European Cup. You've also got Denis Law being Scotland's only Ballon d'Or, our only European footballer of the year. It's an amazing thing. But I think the affection for him also maybe comes from the fact that he never played up here. Because the reason we're so mad about football up here is it just lets us get all the internecine bile out of our system as well. That's probably why the Scotland team's been so bad. There's just so much bad feeling, ill feeling. We love football, and I think we love to hate it. It's a way for us to get all the kind of negativity out of our system, and that leads to us having a terrible national team. A national team with terrible, terrible record. Even that great team that Law played for, Jim Baxter and Jimmy Johnston, Billy Brown, all these kind of guys, and they can't even qualify for a tournament nowadays. So I think not having played up here as well, I think that part of the reason for that is some of the kind of small-mindedness that goes. Small-mindedness is essential to football, but it goes too far in Scotland sometimes, and that just leads to our national team being terrible, I think. And for Denis Law to have won the Ballon d'Or is fantastic, but also he didn't play here, didn't play in the club scene up here, so there's no kind of nobody's got any grudges against the man either. Just went out there and was a straightforward legend. I think Denis Law didn't get to play in the final for Manchester United in 1968. If he had, as I was saying on Friday night, it would have been a lot quicker. It wouldn't have gone to extra time. He was the only member of the United Trinity that didn't play in that game, and the other 2 scored. Bobby Charlton got 2, George Best got 1. But it went to extra time, and I think the lawman would have made sure it was all done and dusted in the 90 minutes, because he was a specialist at Wembley, scoring for the rest of the world there against England as well as scoring for Scotland there, and scoring against England at Hampden as well. And I think it was just a lovely thing today to give the lawman a massive round of applause from everybody, and I think it's the same kind of spirit in which we welcomed Fraserburgh to this game. It's a Highland League, it's a wee team, it's a minnow, and that's nonsense, because half of them will be bloody Aberdeen supporters, who absolutely, some of them are probably here on Wednesday night as well, but the whole kind of cuddly toy stuff just doesn't really scan when it comes to the reality of football supporting in Scotland. There's a lot I was waiting about at the end there to try and give the Broch a round of applause as they come off the park, but they were just too busy in there with their family and friends, and they were all having a great wee time to themselves over in that wee corner between the Broomlin and the Govan. So well done to them. They were a credit to themselves today. Rangers perhaps not so much. The other thing I forgot to tell you on another part of the snagging list for the other night was the old David Lynch. I was telling about David Lynch. I was talking about him passing away. That hit me pretty hard as well. And I was talking about the time back, it must have been 1990, 1991, when I watched Field of Dreams and then Wild at Heart on the same night. Sorry, I know David Lynch didn't direct Field of Dreams, and it's a much derided film, Field of Dreams, but as a kind of sports fan, it was really touching a lot of sports fans. It's a lot better. It's a lot better than a lot of people make out. Field of Dreams, and if you're a big sports fan, it does touch on stuff that'll really hit home. So that was kind of sorted out the sports anorak side of me when I was much worse. I was much worse when it came to the stats and all that, and just loving the game for the sake of it in my kind of early 20s. But then I watched Wild at Heart, which basically tapped into another side that was kind of raging within me. This just thinking the world's a bit, it's a bit wild at heart, quite frankly, Sailor Boy, and there's a lot of stuff going on that I feel, has just been kind of swept under the carpet, and that was David Lynch. I discovered the world of David Lynch that night, and I told you I was in my mum and dad's house. They were away on holiday somewhere. I was having a few cans watching these videos to myself, and just, this is unbelievable. It blew me away. So when mum and dad come back, I just remember sitting them down and saying, Mum, Dad, I've got something to tell you. I'm just going to have to come out here. I think I'm artistic, My dad's like, autistic, fantastic, let's go to Vegas, son. Fucking Rain Man was out at the same time, I was like, no, Dad, artistic. Mum's like, I knew it. I could hear you in your bedroom. I said, no, Mum, it's wanky. I'm not wanking, it's wanky. It's late review I'm watching in my portable. It's not like all that stuff. It's sick. It's against God's law. It's unnatural. We're not going to get any grand wains. The pram in the hall. No, you're not going to get any grand wains. But obviously, I just had to keep it to myself. They didn't want me kind of rubbing their face, and I had to keep it to myself. So I moved up to Glasgow and went to uni, and there I could just be more flamboyant. Actually, I'm embarrassed looking back on it now, but I've still got it in the house there. But I used to actually wear the Faculty of Arts, the faculty scarf. I got that in the shop, the official Glasgow Uni shop, and I used to wear that, just mincing about. I just go into the cafeteria and the boy door, and I'd just shout things like, I think Wild at Heart's really good, and folk would go, yeah, Blue Velvet's even better. And it's just great to be amongst your own people. And I lived like that for a few years, and then one day I said something about, it was actually an Israeli guy who was a Jewish guy, that invented the word genocide, Raphael Lemkin, and folk were just, no, so I thought I'd better go back to supporting Rangers and just watching the football. So that, I finished that off. And the whole thing with David Lynch is he makes the ordinary, he makes the everyday terrifying. There's a great scene in, there's just nothing but great scenes. Don't ever watch Mulholland Drive with me. It's nothing very original. Oh, you like Mulholland Drive? Well done. You like something that's absolutely genius. How impressive for you, Alec. No, I know. But don't watch it because I'll just sit and go, see this, this bit's brilliant, this bit's fantastic. And then you realise you just spent the whole film going, this bit's fantastic. It's like watching Godfather or Raging Bull or The Search or something. It's all fantastic. And the bit, it's the wee sweepy guy. It's the ordinary becomes terrifying. The ordinary harasses you to death. And for example, Betty, when she's in the taxi, or she's coming on the plane before she gets in the taxi, when she arrives in LA, having won the Jitterbug competition, and she's going to go and try and become a star in Hollywood, and she's in the she's in the foyer, just leaving the airport with the people she's spent the flight, the old couple, the woman's Eileen, I can't remember what the guy's called, just this old lovely couple, and she's saying, oh, thanks Phil, see you later, look after yourself, no thanks very much, it was nice talking to you on the plane and all that. And then they get in their car, they get in their limousine that's taking them wherever they're going, and they've got this cranky, crazy, evil smile going on between them. And then by the end of the film, they're appearing in miniature, coming under the door when Betty's actually Diane, who's just had her girlfriend murdered, and they push her into her bedroom, basically, where she takes a gun and shoots herself through the head because she finds them so utterly terrifying. I think that's the reality of when you're playing somebody for the Highland League in a Scottish Cup match at Ibrox. It could be just a nice, easy day out. It could just be nice and mundane, nice and ordinary. You field a few reserve team players, you take the foot off the gas straight away. It's a bit of a workout, it's a bit of a training session. Or as the ball get flashed into our box, and was it the 12th minute, it actually took a bounce on the penalty spot before Robin Proper kind of cleared it, and you realised we haven't scored a goal, really, and there's 5 divisions between us and Fraserburgh. This could be the biggest humiliation of all. This could be the game that actually ends it for Philippe Clement, particularly after in the 5th or 6th minute, Cyril Dessers come up with probably the worst miss of any Rangers player this season so far, missing an open goal, but doing it in style, a wee hitch kick, where they could just have planted it into an open net. You know, he's got too much time to think about it. That's Dessers' problem, he's got too much time to think about it. No, this one. And then, even when we were 1-0 up, what time was it? Started, we'd scored the first goal. The only goal we scored in a disgraceful, utterly disgraceful, humiliatingly embarrassing first half that nobody really think about. They went through on goal, and it got so bad that the boys in front of me were sitting looking at their phones. Everybody was just looking at their phones because the game was so bad. But they were looking at footage of Dessers' miss that had been relayed to them, either on the BBC website or whatever. So it wasn't even like out of noisiness. I'm just terrible when it comes to football. I'm actually sitting in a football match. There's a whole pitch in front of me with players. The actual game is taking place in front of me. Yet because it's images moving on a screen, I'm going to look at it. And I was looking at images of Dessers missing, just as whoever it was made a total rick in defence. You know, behind the phone I was looking at, I don't know if it was Mason Munn, I don't know if it was NSIALA, I don't know if it was Proper, I don't know what happened. As I looked up, there was a Fraserburgh player who just poked the ball, I think it went through Munn's legs, and it just slipped in front of the post, just slipped round the correct side of the post as far as we're concerned, the wrong side as far as that pure Fraserburgh player was concerned. That will haunt him for the rest of his life, and just went past the post, which what could have been an equaliser for Fraserburgh. And that would have been just like when Betty's auntie returns to the flat, when she returns to the flat that Betty and Rita have been kind of hiding out in, and Betty and Rita have just disappeared. They just totally disappear. When they come back from Club Silencio and they go into they've got the key and they've got the blue box and they want to get the key for the blue box and they go to get the blue, and there's a bit where Betty's there, they're both in the bedroom. Rita turns round to get the box for the shelf in the cupboard that's got the key in it, and when she just turns back round, Betty's gone. There's no dramatic music, there's no moody lighting or anything like that. It's just somebody who's there disappears, and it's utterly terrifying. And then, of course, Rita disappears and they go back into reality. That's him getting taken out of the dream, and you realise that it's not even Betty's auntie. There never was a Betty. It's just a fantasy, and she's walking about that flat. It's kind of, lights are on in the flat. It's an ordinary flat. There's nothing terrifying. There's no ghosts or anything like that. There's nothing ostensibly terrifying, but it's utterly chilling. And that was the feeling I was getting in the first half today, when Rangers were just completely failing to show any sort of dominance, any sort of ability to put away a club that the B team beat 5-0 this season. So that's us beating Fraserburgh 10-0 on aggregate. Both games technically at home. We played the B team, the Colts, played them in the Challenge Cup using, I think it was Fourth Bank. I think it was Stirling Albion is going to be used in the Challenge Cup to beat them there. So the first team have not really done it any better than the B team, and there wasn't that many members of the B team. I'm going to have to go right back to the beginning here, folks. Sorry, start the day. The snagging list, just in real, an IRL snagging list. Davey, was it Davey Pettigrew? Davey, was it you again, mate? I'm terrible with it. CMD who's bumped it. Grim will tell you, he's also bumped into me before I think it was a League Cup semi-final at Hampden. See me on a Sunday. I'm absolutely murdered because I've usually had a few drinks on a Saturday night, and I'm getting in the game zone, but I'm totally I just want to be in my kip on a Sunday, just sitting watching telly. I've never get used to games on a Sunday, and if it's any earlier than 3 o'clock kick-off, an absolute just asleep, totally asleep, walking along Edmiston Drivers Day, and somebody turned around and said, "Alec, love the pods." And I saw it. I'm like, mate, thanks very much. That's good. He just walked on like I'm some sort of fucking superstar or something. Like, yeah, of course you do. Thanks very much. You stop and say hello. And then most folk, anybody else will tell you, don't ever stop Alec. Don't stop him. If you see him, don't stop him and just say, because you just want to say, pod's really good, but you were there half an hour later talking about, AC Milan in the 1994 European Cup final, and why, Barry Davies's commentary was unbelievably jingoistic, because Philip Dawn actually got brought in there at the last moment as referee because there had been death threats given out to the Dutch referee by Milan fans, because obviously Johan Cruyff was the Barcelona manager. He'll have you there for like half an hour. You don't want to stop Alec and tell him that you enjoy watching the pod. That'll day you. Don't mention it. But the day I'm just in a total stupor. Not even completely. I only had a few whiskies last night. Just that Sunday, I'm totally shattered. It's far too early for me to be out my bed. I'm a 2:15 kick-off. That is brutal. And I'm walking along, somebody said, and I also I'd noticed just before the fella said hello to me, I noticed that there was a wee tiny queues outside it was about 10 minutes to kick off, and I noticed there's wee tiny queues outside the turnstiles. Folk were struggling with the tickets, being on the old. Being on the phone, the QR code, it never goes down well. I think a tip I learnt today for the fella who was struggling in front of me. Sometimes you've got your nightlight when you're sitting scrolling on doom scrolling on the phone at bedtime. You get the nightlight on to protect your eyes. I don't think it works. If you don't take that off, I think you put the QR code in with the dip. That's not going to work either. You've got to have it on your phone on maximum brightness or normal brightness, whatever that is. Folk will know the technical term. But I wasn't on maximum brightness in any way, shape or form. So big apologies to whoever it was said hello. I did the fucking common decency to just come over and say thanks very much, mate, and have a bit of chat. But I'm also terrible with faces. It could have been David Pettigrew who I was talking to the other night. Sorry, just absolutely. That's my snagging. I'm an absolute shambles. And to be honest, so were Rangers. But this started yesterday in the West End. I didn't even get any drinks in the West End. I was going down, I walked down, we went down that North Gardner Street, no Gardner Street, because I had to come back up that. I'm not going down that part of Partick. But then cut down, you pass the bowling club, the new flats they've built in the bowling club, lovely flats they've got down there, the tournaments and that. Then you cut down to the left, is it Partick Hill Road or just Partick Road? You slip down the side, to your left-hand side, you get Cottairs, where they had the mouse infestation, I think it was that last year, a couple of years ago now. Cottairs is down your left-hand side, and then cut down towards, basically, it's turning into a kind of south side still vibe down that part of Partick. Lots of fantastic cake shops and all that, and I'm like, we're stopping here, but no, she's not want to stop there. We're going to look at the cakes and that one. You're going to no, right? This is a kebab place. You want to get nothing to make in there either. She just wanted a walk and a wee coffee, maybe at the Mace, and I'm like, I'm absolutely Hank Marvin here. So we walked down and you get that square, and I'm thinking we're sitting, so we're going to get a wee seat then if we can't actually get a coffee. I fancy going somewhere in Byers Road, and I said, I noticed that. My legs are killing me here, so. I sat down on the bench, and the bench is not square. It's right between you get it's facing Dumbarton. It's on Dumbarton Road, and it's a big open square. And in your right hand side you got the Quarter Jill, and your left hand side you get the Lismore. And usually sometimes there's a market in that square. No market yesterday. It was just nice and empty. And it was dull, but it wasn't raining. So I sat down this wee bench just for a wee rest, just take that. And I'm saying, look, that's quite good. We're sitting right at the halfway point of this square. So to our right hand side. It's the Quarter Jill, working class, good old Partick fun. I could go in there and really enjoy myself and have a great time. But to the left, it's the Lismore, which is a bit more wanky, a bit more pretentious. That's the kind of start of the proper West End vibe in there. And I could, you get your Celtic Connections type music and that every now and then, but I'm equally at home in there. I've been in there plenty of times in the Lismore. I wonder what it means. We're right in the middle here between the two, equidistant between the two pubs, right in the middle of this square, sitting on this fine bench, and then a wee pug dog. Guy was walking his dog, and the dog sat down and just parked its arse directly across from us and started curling one out onto the pavement. My wife's like, I think that dog's having a big shit. We'll just move. And I thought, that's a tough crowd today. So we got up and I'm just walking along Dumbarton Road. The bag of nails, you get the Dolphin, good Celtic booze, the Dolphin and the bag of nails on the other side. Just that bit before you hit the junction with Dumbarton Road, and the motors are all slowing down. The aroma is coming through the carry-out places. Now I was gasping for a pint. I didn't want to have a pint. I wanted to get back up the road sober, just sit and have I wanted to keep it a bit sharper this week. Man, you Old Trafford, got to keep it a bit sharper. So I want a bit of these. This isn't doing me any favours. Or the smell for all the carryouts and that kind of place. And there's that German place that does all the German beers as well. It's hard to drag myself past here and that. She's like, I just want a coffee. But all right. And just at that, I could hear. I'm like, that's Booker T and the MGs. The white rhythm section. It's Booker T and the MGs. The guys get this a bit. If you don't know from my rendition there, it was. And I'm like, that's quite a coincidence. You can smell all the carryout places, and that's not fried onions, I think it's green onions. I'm like, are you just a pain in the arse? Is it just, is it me? Are you, am I too bigoted by thinking I can't even say green onions? Or are you just having great fun? Humiliating me in front of folk, by correcting me like that. But it turned around and it was a Jaguar. It was an old-style Jaguar that was kind of parked and belting out the green onions. I wasn't expecting that for some reason. I wasn't expecting like Lambrettas and Vespas and stuff like that. I was obviously coming for a motor. But it was just not as old as the Inspector Morse Jaguar, but no a modern Jaguar. It was just the classic kind of half gangster type Jaguar, maybe a guy that owns a building firm or something like that. But it was kind of souped up. It had the boy racer stuff. wee kind of trims, the lights under the bottom and that, and stuff stuck on the side. And I thought, it's neither a Jaguar nor a boy racer motor. This is quite weird. But it's built out the Green Onions, and it turned left, and it went up Byers Road before we did. And at one point it stopped. We stopped halfway up Byers Road. I'm just like, where is it? Want to go? You just want to get a coffee? Or I said, do you want to? And my wife just said, just a whole crowd of folk just passed by. I know you're trying to keep conversations to yourself when you're out like a couple and that, and there's a whole crowd of folk just walked past us as my wife turned round and said to me, no, but I don't want a cake. You know, kind of nice and loud. And I just thought, folk are looking at that and they're seeing her. You know, she's about like a third of my weight. She's about 8 stone or something like that. And then looking at me, I'm like, 23 stone, still there. And they'll be thinking, I wonder how many times she's going to say that to him. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm like, I've just kept you, just humiliating me in public and stuff like that. And then we got up further up Byers Road, and there the boy had parked, the Green Onions guy had parked, and him and his wife were having a wee argument, a discussion about where they were going to go for something. And I thought, you're just like Old Trafford, aren't you? You're just like Old Trafford. It's rich. You know, there's a lot of money there. You got to style. You know, you've got the style. You got money, if money in and of itself is style. You got the stylish motor, but you kind of tack it. It's like Manchester United had. It's like Green Onions, the 60s, groovy. You know, Law, Charlton, Best. You know, you watched all the black and white footage of them being super stylish. But Old Trafford itself, the Stretford End's not even the Stretford End anymore. It's just all seated. It's always been I've been a couple of times. It's a kind of, I don't know, it's a kind of anemic looking stadium. The atmosphere's not the greatest. A couple of times I was there, but I imagine it's pretty good when it's the biggest attendance for a Europa League match ever. Not since it's become the Europa League, not the UEFA Cup. Is it when Liverpool beat Man United at Old Trafford in the Europa League? Was it quarter-finals or something like that? They played last 16. They met a few years ago. Klopp was Liverpool manager. That's the biggest ever attendance. But it's not really. It's never been the theatre of dreams. Not. It's never really been a place that's enticed me. I don't see it. But Manchester United are the biggest club in England, biggest club in Britain, and I think it's only Real Madrid and and Barcelona have got the same kind of legacy as them, even though Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Juventus, right up there as well, and some of them much more successful than Manchester United in European terms, which is what counts. All that stuff about Alex Ferguson, it's he's the most successful British manager of all time. Two Champions Leagues. Bob Paisley won 3. Bob Paisley won 3. I know it's called European Cup nowadays, but I don't think he's the most successful British manager. And Bob Paisley also won the UEFA Cup, so you can take you got a couple of Cup Winners' Cups there, Sir Alec, but the big one, he won it 3 times, and that's. I don't know. I don't know why I'm talking about it. We're talking about the Broch here. We're talking about the team for Fraserburgh who have won the Aberdeenshire Cup. So this is your they won the Aberdeenshire Cup so many times. I'm getting confused. Not Alec Ferguson, Aberdeen, and down he goes. There's no really a lot to talk about with the game today. There is not a lot to talk about, and I don't know what to. Yeah, this is your. Fat Eck. Rangers have beaten Fraserburgh by 5-0 in the Scottish Cup 4th round, and Cyril Dessers, having recorded one of the worst misses ever seen from a Rangers player, then goes on to get the armband, become Rangers captain, but scores a hat-trick and hits the post and has an assist reaction pod coming to you in association with Gersnet. Check out Gersnet tonight. I think it's definitely going to be Chris Jack and maybe Ross and perhaps Scott Bradley. I think it might be Scott, but I'm not sure. But there's going to be a good lineup on that tonight, and there'll be a lot more to discuss, obviously, with everything that's coming up on Thursday and everything that happened last week. A lot more to discuss than simply this Scottish Cup win for Rangers today, but that in itself will be enough. The boys will give that absolutely large. I'm sponsored by Gersnet, and I'm also sponsored by Diners and Movies. I was sponsored by Winkies on Friday night in tribute to David Lynch. Winkies on Sunset Boulevard. Why is it in Sunset Boulevard? I know nothing in movies, decent movies is done by coincidence, but it's Sunset Boulevard. Why is Guadalajara's across the road? Why, when the guy comes out to go and see the guy, he's the one that's doing it, the guy in back at this place, why he comes out the back, he he goes to walk down the steps now, and he looks and he stops and he looks at the sign saying entrance, and the entrance is pointing the other way. He's walking towards the exit. Basically, he's going to have the heart attack. The guy's going to come out for the back and give him the heart attack, and he's going to die. And it's one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in my life. But that takes place at Winky's, and lots of terrifying things happen at Winky's in Mulholland Drive. Even though it's a Winky's on Sunset Boulevard, the film's obviously called Mulholland Drive. It's no coincidence. It's all about the Hollywood system and how it destroys folk. And Rita, she took the name off the poster. Not Rita Hayworth. That's not an accident. It's a comment on the old Hollywood system. So I got a phone call from the American Diners and American Movies Association saying you can't just name one of our diners. You've got to mention the whole brand. You've got to mention the whole lot. And of course, there's an actual film called Diner, one of the best films of us. I love Diner. It's a fantastic film. Mickey Rourke and Kevin Bacon's in it. And I've got a bit in Diner. The bit you're supposed to remember in Diner is when Mickey Rourke wins a bet by getting somebody to touch his thing by popping it through the popcorn when he's at the cinema. But the bit for me was actually the guy who isn't going to marry his fiancée unless she passes a test on football. It's American football, but I get the vibe. You know what I mean? Let them. Let's see how much you know about it. And he stands next door while his mates or his dad's involved as well. His dad's involved to give her this test, this preset exam, and she's been studying for ages to try and see if she can know enough about American football, about the gridiron. It's probably the days before. It's set in the 60s. It's probably the days before the actual NFL was a thing. Or the NFL was one, it was the NFC, or the two conferences. The thing that's going to happen with UEFA and the Super League, they're going to eventually have a Super Bowl, and then they'll just merge. But she's answering the questions on the teams, and she just misses. She just fails by she gets one wrong. She's one out. He's like, that's it. The manager's off, and then you realise, I'm thinking that's brilliant. And then you realise it's because he's a virgin. He's actually a virgin. He's just basically behaving like a wee virgin. And that was a grown up moment for me. Watching that, maybe need to ease back on the football stuff there. I like the dedication to the football, and then getting more into your David Lynch. The great films have all got diners in them. If they've not got a diner in it, it's a wee kind of quiet place, where you can go in. It's got one of the toilets in the back that's got the old-fashioned toilet with the cistern with the pool thing on it. Somebody could get a gun in at the back of that. But Heat, folk saying it's always Heat. It's always the bank robbery films. Suddenly you're into David Lynch because he died. You're becoming all pretentious, and it's like, well, no, they're both set in LA. They're both set in LA. They're both David Lynch, Wild at Heart is somewhere. The opening scene there is set somewhere, Cape Fear, somewhere between North and South Carolina. And then Hank Azaria's character in Heat, Alan Marciano, he's smuggling. There's a warrant out for him because he was smuggling cigarettes up from North Carolina. And I went to North Carolina in April during the last year. It's just the things that you do for movies, and it was very like Twin Peaks as well, all the trees and all that, and the hills and the roads and the American stuff, and it's also very like Heat, driving cars through tunnels, and it's phones everywhere. Look at all the phones that are in Mulholland Drive. Even if the guy's going at the back of Winky's to see if his nightmare's going to come true, you go past the same payphone that Betty uses when she's trying to find out Rita's real name. And you think of the intercoms and microphones to mouths and speaking through loudhailers, and there's a big kind of grease-stained yellow wall-mounted phone that's got a dentist spotlight focusing on it, and a disembodied arm comes up and picks that up. It's phones, and then Nate's talking to Neil phones Nate, after the robberies or the bank robberies all going wrong, and it's like, Unicellular, use a landline. It's not, it's a new one, I've got a new one. It's phones all the time. Phones. I'm talking to an empty telephone because they're dead man on the other end of this fucking line. But it's all linked. Heat and Mulholland Drive are just the two of the greatest films of all time, and probably the two I've watched most often. They're both totally linked. And diners is the thing as well, because you got Winky's and everything that happens in Winky's, Wee Willie Winky's in Mulholland Drive, and then in Heat you've got the diner that they take away and grow to. And anybody wants some pie, and they're going to in back of this place. In back of this place, they're supposed to off Waingro, but it goes wrong, and that's the downfall in Waingro, is the very kind of evil that we have in Mulholland Drive, and in Twin Peaks it's Ray Wise. It's her dad. It's your dad, Laura. It's your dad. He's that kind of. He's little Waingro. Waingro does the same kind of stuff as him, and they also have the diner where they pick up. They get the guy Breeden, who thing with Neil was in jail with. They find him when the trio can't turn up because of Wayne Grove can't turn up to be the getaway driver for the bank job, but they're in the diner, they find out about that, and there's a big thing with telephones there, phone me back on this number, and he phones him back. The cops are all over me like a cheap suit, so he has to find a getaway driver, and it's the guy for the diner, it's the grill man from the diner that they get, and he gets killed, obviously. It's all diners. There's diners in all the great movies, and the best movies have this. So the American diners, so if it's British films it'd be cafes, but it's the American movies that we're talking about these days. Okay, so the game today, it's just no many changes at all, not many changes, with Mason Munn in goal. So yeah, I did notice Mason Munn was in goal. It was a few months ago, and I knew it wasn't Jack Butland or Liam Kelly. It was in goals today, and that's not going to be the next snagging list. Let it go. So it was just, I was at Dundee at Ibrox. I think I didn't notice the whole game that Jack Butland wasn't in goals. I didn't notice it was Liam Kelly. It was in goals because didn't hardly any day, So I was, but they'll not let that go. Slagging me rotten for that. So it was Mason Munn in goals. A Mason for Northern Ireland. I mean, Owen Archdeacon isn't even for Ireland, so it was still the most religiously kind of the sectarians on one side, a kind of partisan type of kind of conspiracy probably name ever in the history of Scotland. We remember we had Billy King. We had Billy King on loan for a wee spell as well. I suppose we had him. But Mason Munn, he was in goals today, third choice goalkeeper. Don't know what's happened with Jack Butland. There was talk of him coming back for the manager, not even on the bench, and he's going back to, no doubt, where he sees his alma mater, Old Trafford, on Thursday night. Doesn't look like Jack Butland's going to be involved in that. But the back four was, if you want to see Clinton NSIALA as somebody who's now a first team player, and he has become one in the space of a week, not really the kind of, it's really only Zach Lovelace. You've got Ross McCausland coming back in, Ross on the right and Lovelace on the left. But Zach Lovelace himself has made appearances for the first team before, much vaunted. Can we push him up? Can we get him into the first team? Well, he was playing today, and it seemed today okay. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too terrible about him. But that was it, really. You get NSIALA and Proper. I thought Proper might be protected ahead of Thursday night when we're struggling so much for injuries, especially at centre half. But maybe it was more a case of the manager seeing this as an exercise, a run out, a kind of an advanced training match, if you like. But just the same as you run the risk of injuries in actual training, I suppose. I think you could initially, I'm like, he's resting all these players when we're playing vital league games at Fir Park and at St Mirren, and that's costing us points over the festive period. But it's not really the same, because that's highly intense games that we're going to struggle to win. So he's resting players for games that we need to win, need all hands on deck. But he's pitting them in the team the day when we don't really need. I mean, the B team did beat Fraserburgh 5-0. I don't know why we had to have so many first team players in there. But you got Tavs coming back from injury. Proper has had an injury, so maybe he's needing tested out as well, albeit a very short term one. He's needing to make sure he's got his fitness kind of road testing him before we head down the M6. Him and NSIALA at centre half, and it was Hefty. I thought Hefty was definitely going to be rested because he's put so much in this season. He's going to score at Old Trafford, isn't he? He hasn't scored for us yet, Hefty, has he? He hasn't scored for us yet. He's so bouncy, so energetic, so dynamic. I know he got a hard time in that pre-season friendly at Murrayfield, but I feel as if he's going to do, from Diallo, but I feel as if he's going to do the business. If he's ever going to have a moment where he's going to get his first Rangers goal, it's probably going to be on Thursday night. Maybe getting too excited there, asking for trouble, sitting midfield. I thought Bailey Rice might have started, but no, it was Connor Barron and Diamande. So it's really just Raskin that's getting rested there, which is a big shout, I suppose, for a Rangers team that's trying to win these days. And you had up front, you had Dessers, who Danilo out injured his second choice striker just now, but he knows what he's doing. A man who has played and scored goals in Serie A, Cyril Dessers, is up front, and we had Nadeem Bajrami playing at number 10. So out we went, and it was awful. I was sitting there thinking, what do you actually want to do here in a game like this? How do you judge this? And I don't know what you. My name's Alec Anderson. I usually do a wee song at this point after I give you my name, and I think you'd want lazy Sunday afternoon, but that's not really appropriate today. You'd maybe want the classic lazy Sunday afternoon song, but I don't think that's actually. It's a bit too jaunty a tune. You could have Every Day Is Like Sunday, by the old the old bigot himself, Morrissey. But that's more about other days of the week being like a Sunday. But I think the most appropriate one today is Sit By Me Silently and Brush My Beard. No mess to mop up from the bed today. Well, we sit next door and watch the soaps. Nothing to do and there's nothing to say. Oh, when you go. Oh, when you go. Recently we've been somewhat volatile. And last night it starts with that Joan Osborne song. I hate it anyway, but you made it worse. I know why you laughed, and you should know you were wrong. Oh, recently things have been somewhat volatile. Recently things have been somewhat volatile off the old park. Lots of protests, lots of angst, lots of official statements from supporters association. Well, just the one really. Lots of banners, lots of songs, lots of walkouts, lots of silences, etc., etc. And the rest of that song becomes, I maybe the Arab Strap, I'm the biggest Rangers fans in the world, but I'm one of the biggest Arab Strap fans in the world. No, I'm not really, but I can't get past the first 6 songs, 6 or 7. I had philophobia for years, but I couldn't get past, I just kept playing that. I've listened to the whole album like maybe a dozen times, but I've listened to the first kind of half dozen songs on that a million times. Phenomenal stuff there, and I feel as if the rest of that song is get more appropriate if things start going wrong for Philippe Clement, the tennis pro, the guy who gave up the game of tennis to become Rangers manager. I don't mean that sarcastically. I'm talking during the week about Club Cutwinners Cup, and in my way to the start of the walk yesterday, we got past the Cafe Parma, you know, it's the tennis club, the tennis club up that part of the old West End there, just off Great Western Road. Oh, the guys and girls are always out there playing the tennis, and they've got the Cafe Parmas, it's the old pavilion. They've got a picture up on it now of what it used to look like in the old days, and the houses on the boot are still the same, you know. The Alexander Greek Thompson stuff all round about it, kind of swanky wanky part of the old West End there. But the tennis club, and I think that's in Cafe Parma that Pedro Caixinha, PC, a duff foreign manager that was brilliant. No, it wasn't brilliant in Europe at all. It's the worst result ever recorded in European history. Only rivaled by the 7-1 defeat by Liverpool. But he was in Cafe Parma when it was announced that he was getting sacked. It broke, you know, the papers or the journalists found him. The Cafe Parma, it's something. I think James Tavernier was getting abused by a Celtic fan in there once. Cafe Parma, they won the Cutwinners Cup. No, Parma won the Cutwinners Cup in 1993. Parma that we've played in the other 2 European competitions as they were at that time. And Club Cutwinners Cup, the thing with that, you know, you've got PC, you know, Pedro Caixinha, Philippe Clement, he gave up the chance of pro tennis. He was telling us during the week to play for. You think that the protest about at Dens Park a few years ago was the game we drew 1-1. Kenny Miller scored for Dundee. Big, was it big? But we throw the tennis balls onto the park. We throw the tennis balls onto the park, and then I slipped up at Dens Park the other week. And that's when the real bile started. But you should throw the tennis, but maybe that's going to be the next time. Give you the idea there. It's staring you in the face. Union Bears, if you really want to get rid of Big Clement, the protest now will be chucking the tennis balls. Why don't you go and play tennis again? Maybe you should have stuck to the tennis, big man. That's the way to do it. If you do that, repeat that protest, that would certainly work for him. But of course, the late, tragically, it's terrible, Elena Baltaccia. She, pro tennis player, representing Scotland, representing Ukraine. Her dad won the European Cutwinners Cup with Dino Kiev. Sergei Baltaccia, he won it with Dynamo Kiev in 1986. And of course, Kim Clijsters, her dad, won the European Cutwinners Cup with Mechelen in 1987. So Parma, they won the Cutwinners Cup in 1983, and that's where the tennis is now manager. But it's just the Club Cutwinners Cup. The Rangers, 1972. We played the team that won the Cutwinners Cup in 1983 on Wednesday night there, and we played the team that won the European Cutwinners Cup in 1991. We're going to be playing them this coming Thursday, and we are the team that won the European Cutwinners Cup in 1972. It's just Club Cutwinners Cup. The drinks are free, and it's a kind of boring, lazy Sunday, as I said, you're just looking for a wee kind of lie-in almost, and the Rangers players having that same attitude towards this game. It's what we need in between the kind of the bile of playing Aberdeen and the high stakes poker, the glamour, the Casino Royale of going down to Old Trafford. And I started that the day after by thinking, I'll just check out how many Highland League clubs have I actually seen. I looked at the Highland League table, and I'm like going through it, and I'm going, I think Fraserburgh is going to be like this. Well, Brecon City are in there though. I've seen Bankside, I've seen Brecon City. I'm going to see Fraserburgh of the day. Is that it? Is that what? Oh no, Clachnacudden. I saw Inverness Clachnacudden playing Spartans. I just wanted to go and see Spartans, get them off the list when they joined the league. But they were playing the Scottish Cup when I went to see them. Ainsley Park, and they were hosting Inverness Clachnacudden. So that's what I seen. I thought, but wait a minute, Bankside, I saw them. I saw them about, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that. Beautiful strip. They've got the dark blue and light blue hoops, Banks of Dee classic strip. I saw them playing in the Junior Cup in Bishop Briggs, a Highland League team. And they were playing. I think it was Inverurie local motives. They were playing at Rossvale's ground. But I went to see that two teams I hadn't seen before, so I went to see them, get them off the list and all that. But Banks of Dee had but of course what they've done up there, still got the juniors. They've got the North Region Juniors. And there's a North Region Juniors Premier League and First Division. But if you finish the top of the Premier Division, the next step up. This is the whole pyramid system that Rangers created by going down to, we don't care about Rangers. We don't care if Rangers have to start again in the fourth tier or whatever it is. If they're known in the top flight, it's not going to affect Scottish football, except it's going to completely change it for every fucking team in the entire country. So I had the Banks of Dee, and it turns out, so they got promotion. Banks of Dee, and I'm talking on that. I should go and see Fort William so I can say I've been to see a Highland League. I've never seen a Highland League game, an actual fixture in the Highland League. I should go and see Fort William. That's probably the easiest to get to for me. But of course they've been relegated. There's no assistant. They can go down because of the pyramid system. They're doing, is it the Caledonian League or the Midlands League or something? That's another league I'm going to have to go and see. You can't go and see every team in the country, Alex. So I've seen all the teams in the Old West Juniors and every league team. But I need to, I'll just go and see one game in each other league in the country. But I've never seen a Highland League game. That's the next one I've got to target. But Fort William are leaving in the Highland League, and so they're not there either. Well, I've seen them yet anyway. And then Brecon City are top league. Well, I've seen them. I mean, the first time I ever saw Rangers playing as a lower league team, it was a game at Brecon. The first game I ever played as a lower league team was a game at Brecon at the start of the 2012-2013 season. And I don't know why I beat that one. That's a long story, but I was at Glebe Park that day anyway. And so Brecon are in there, and they've got their stadium is like the Maracana compared to most of the other stadiums, except Brora's, perhaps in terms of capacity up there in the old Highland League. And I'm like, well, Banks of Dee are juniors. They used to be a junior team, but they've got promoted. They're now the North Juniors, but they've also got a juniors team that still plays, and they've split into two. Banks of Dee. So they all have a team that plays, and you're thinking, well, if I'm counting Brecon as a Highland League team now, I haven't seen Brecon City, but I've seen them. I've seen them in like the Challenge Cup, and I've seen them in the Scottish Cup, and I've seen them in the actual league set up in Scotland. Well, then surely I should just be able to count Ross County and Cove Rangers. I've seen Cove Rangers in the Scottish Cup playing against Peterhead, who are also, I mean, Chris Boyd, this Desser's getting a hat-trick today and a 5-0 win. Chris Boyd 19 years ago gets a hat-trick against Peterhead and a 5-0 win at this stage of the Scottish Cup, but it's they're a league team by that point, Peterhead, just for by a few years, but there's a Peterhead banner hanging after the Copeland today. Peterhead True Blues, and Peterhead used to be Fraserburgh's big rivals. That was their kind of derby, was against Peterhead, but then Peterhead went to become a league team. It's just really confused, and I thought Banks of Dee juniors are still playing, so they've got an interest in the juniors league, but they've also got an interest in the Highland. They're running two teams there, and they play it, of course, in Spain Park that Banks of Dee playing in Spain. As I saw Ken Dalglish scoring his 30th goal the other night. I was talking about the other night. He scored it in 1984. I was at that game where he scored it against Spain, and that was him equaling Denis Law's record. Denis Law, who's for Aberdeen, and this is the Aberdeenshire team that were playing the day, and I was getting myself a bit water, and I realised I'd seen Stonywood. I thought I've seen Stonywood. They're a North Region juniors team, so if they get, I'd seen them years ago with my mate in 2009 at Polo Park, and I realised, well, if they get promoted to the North Region of the juniors and then they go up into Highland League, I can count them as retrospectively having seen a junior. So I went to look at Stonywood, and they've merged with somebody else altogether and play at a different stadium. It's just I can't keep track of what's going on here. So on the old, there's no stability. It's all completely fluid, unlike the Rangers' performance in the first half of the day, where it just, I'm thinking it's five. There's 5 leagues. They're level 5. We're level 1 in this pyramid system in Scotland. So I think you should be looking for 2 goals for every. If you beat a championship team 1-0, you think that's embarrassing. Beat them 2-0, okay, that's the minimum. I think the minimum you should be looking for is 2 goals for every level between every league between us. So we should have been beating them 10-0 a day. So when I first started playing golf, I thought my mate. I mean, it only lasted for a month before I realised it was completely middle class and went against everything that I held dear. But I did start, I did get a go. It's quite good fun, the golf. And the guy I worked with, who's a proper golfer, he's like, well, what you do is when you start playing, just double the par for each hole. and that's a bit more realistic. That's what I did when I was starting as a kid, and I did that, and it was that's the level you try to play it. But I thought the day we should be scoring a goal, and then the first 6 minutes the Dessers had that miss, which is I've never seen anything like it. Well, I have, but not that's Peter Van Vossen. And I don't know who played the ball over from the right hand side. Was it Ross McCausland? But it was wide open, and you thought this isn't going to happen at all. And it got to 20 minutes. I'm like, well, we should be 4-0 up by now by my standards, and it's still 0-0. I mean, Fraserburgh had got at their half like once, and it was a free kick. I mean, they're very good at dealing with free kicks, and they launched it for the halfway line and said it took a bounce on the penalty spot before Robin Proper cleared it quite easily. But you're thinking, this is just a wee sign there that what could go wrong and how badly it's going. The only ones that seem to start showing an interest around about the 25-minute mark, I think Buzz Ramy and Hefty got a bit embarrassed at what was happening here and started doing what they're supposed to do at that level, just taking guys on and leaving them for dead, like beating them down the byline, beating them down the wing and what have you, and getting the... And a few Fraserburgh players were taking the ball foul in the face and getting semi-concussed. There was a few stoppages for that. The Fraserburgh cracking support they had today. Good time for a kick-off, gives them time to get down here and also time to get back up the road quite comfortably. But they must have had about 1.5 to 2,000 with them today. And they're proper. I was talking about my local team, my local juniors team, the Winton Rovers, and that's their kit. They're the black and white with a touch of red, and they're wearing the black and white stripes, the black shorts, and the red socks, which is total Grimsby town. That's Fraserburgh fishing place, and Grimsby, the fishing the mariners, and I've come Ardrossan with the ferry, used to go to Arran, don't get me onto that. So that's how we link them. That's what a black and white kit. Apparently Fraserburgh's kit is based on a Newcastle United guy. I was reading the Wikipedia, it was Newcastle United guy that started them in 1910. It links to Newcastle United, so he went for the black and white stripes, the Broch. I didn't realise that Fraserburgh had actually beaten Dundee. This just shows you, this is the price of being a big team. Everybody laughs at you. You don't take it personally. It's not a conspiracy. It's because folk care. You always hear about us getting beat off Berwick. I was at the game, we get beat off Hamilton Accies. Hamilton Accies are top flight at the time, even though down the bottom. But it was a humiliation at the Scottish Cup that time, 86, 87, and 20 years before that, it was Berwick Rangers, of course, who were the division below us that put us out the Scottish Cup. That felt as if it's the biggest Scottish Cup shock of all time, the way it's told to you. But apparently, in 1959, this is only 3 years before Dundee were champions of Scotland, Fraserburgh put out the Goliath's graveyard. Fraserburgh up at Belsley put out Dundee in 1959, put them out the Scottish Cup 1-0, and this was, as I say, just 3 years before Dundee won the league. So when we went up to Fraserburgh in 2018 at Belsley and we beat them 3-0, 3-1. I know, Windass got the hat trick, 3-0 or 3-1. I can't remember. The main thing is we won because that was 3 years before we won the league. Yeah, so we avoided one there. And you're thinking today this could go seriously wrong. And then James Tavernier puts in a corner and Cyril Dessers scores. And we've scored from a corner. So that was something big. That was a big correction or something. But I was utterly raging with that performance because we've basically only got one kind of reserve team player and he's the goalkeeper. He shouldn't be getting annoyed. I don't know what happened, as I say, that with the chance that they nearly scored. Fraserburgh, they nearly equalised. I'll need to see that back in the telly. You know better than me, but it was quite embarrassing. And I was so hangry at half time that I had to go and get myself a pie, and that's when it hits you that it's one of the games. And the wee lassie on the pie stall, she starts talking to me once I eventually got to the point of getting served, because there's hundreds and hundreds of Wains. I know the Wains are wanting, because it's no in the season ticket and folk are having trouble getting in. The fella that sits behind me, he's like, I didn't have it. I thought I brought my season ticket along. I've signed up for the CCCS, the Continual Credit Card Scheme, and I didn't. I pitched the season ticket up to the thing. It doesn't work, and the steward said to me, no, it's on your phone. I've not got an email. I didn't get an email. I don't know what's happened there. I got the email. It's been a lot of jerkings about this season with various ways of getting tickets that you've already paid for. They're not all on the season ticket, and so. But the best laugh was there was a fella that was sitting, he's an older gentleman, the guy that sits behind me, so there's obviously somebody, a younger fella said, it's alright mate, I'll get you in, don't worry about it, I've got my ticket here. And he's done, this is like, we'll just be sneaking in the same time, you get two of yous, you can never work this with me, you get two of yous into the actual turnstile, but into your folds at the same time, and push you through, but he just went through so quick that the guy who was letting him in didn't have a chance to get behind him, and he was locked out. It's fun. So there's a lot of confusion being caused with stuff like that, and then you've got all the kids that have been brought along for the first time at Ibrox, because the tickets are a bit cheaper. The parents are taking them along. getting to experience it in there, just wanting the pies and I want a Coca-Cola. Well, so did I. I just thought I'm going to go for it today as well. I do hundreds and hundreds of pie eating, but I don't do that much at Ibrox, to be quite honest with you. But the wee lassie in front of the queue, I'm like, I have a steak pie and a bovril, and they were absolutely roasting, they were absolutely brilliant. And the wee lassie's like that to me, she's like, she says, this queue's it's not getting any shorter, is it? I says, no, it's not. I says, it's because all the wains and that are coming along the day. She's like, well, we're actually understocked. We're totally understocked. We haven't got the amount of stuff in that we actually need to because they didn't think the crowd was going to be as big, and the crowd wasn't as bad. I think I've seen somebody who's like 35, 36,000 or something the other day. I thought it'd be well below 20,000, to be quite frank, what with it being on terrestrial television. And Rangers being hated by half their support this season at this point of the year, and just generally nobody really interested in seeing Fraserburgh if you're only into supporting Rangers for the big team stuff. But no, that was a really healthy crowd. Quite impressed, but most of them were trying to get a pie, and they were under supply. And eventually I had to say, look, you can see the wedding ring, just going to let it go. Let me go. So I brought my pie and my bovril back down the half time, and while I was enjoying that, typically Rangers started banging in the goals. They banging in a couple of goals straight away to take the heat off. It's a lovely pie. But I'm thinking that's what it is. It's like, Rangers have done that thing where the best day I ever had in the bookies every year was Grand National Day. The busiest day of the year was the easiest day of the year because you just kept going. You go into a cafe that's empty. Like it's not a busy. Like you go in on a Monday afternoon or something like that. In a cafe that's usually dead busy, a good cafe. The service will be terrible because the staff have all kind of wound down. I thought that's what's happened with Rangers' performance. They're just expected to go out and coast this game of the day, so they've went out with that attitude, and it's just not happening. Fraserburgh are fighting for their lives. They're out there playing the game of the century, as far as you're concerned, and we're not able to do anything about it. And it was really, I was absolutely raging with the lack. That's the kind of stuff that will get me going out and protesting a total lack of professionalism from professional footballers. But what I was really impressed with. What I was really impressed with is Clinton NSIALA, the man who made it 2-0. If there was anybody in that park who could have been totally unprofessional, you would have almost expected to be totally unprofessional, as a fella who's just come out of the B team, only played his first team match for anybody last week up at Dens Park, and then he plays at the weekend, and he plays midweek there against Aberdeen, and that's him now out in a game against a Highland League side today, and he's still in the team. He could have started the day giving it, I'm too good for this now. It just goes to your head if you're a young guy, if you haven't had a lot of experience of first team football. You couldn't blame him. He was getting rave reviews of his performance against Aberdeen the other night, but he was, I think, the man who was totally, I think he got man of the match for the sponsors as well, but his attitude was absolutely first class. I think it was Bajrami that teed him up. I can't remember. A shot through outside the box anyway, right into the bottom corner, and the absolute elation. When we scored the first goal in the first half, I didn't even get out of my seat. I was just like, I think I gave it 2 claps just to. Didn't want to be somebody who a Rangers supporter who hadn't cheered a Rangers goal, but I gave it 2 claps, never moved my arse out my seat or anything. And this one though, I was really happy for the big man. I was kind of annoyed at the fact that my last bit of pie was to go into my mouth, so I had to. It made it a bit awkward getting that consumed, but he was utterly delighted, and you couldn't help sharing that delight with him. I'm really proud of his performance today. Absolute credit to himself. No kind of, I'm too big for this. I've proven that I can go into better things than that. It was just really, really great. His attitude today, and that seemed. I take it they'd had a bit of a rocket from the manager at half time. That was 52 minutes, we made it 2-0, and then I think it was 5 minutes later or something like that. It was Dessers, wasn't it? It was Dessers. He did the old kind of soft shoe shuffle, typical. The misses an open goal, but reminiscent of one he scored against Morton in the early stages of the League Cup last season, and away to Hibs. He's away against Hibs at Easter Road, I think, in the league game. Where he does that thing, he just takes the ball and beats 2 or 3 guys and walks into the net. The kind of stuff, the kind of skills that should be coming to the fore when we're playing against a team so many divisions below us in a game like this today. So that was it. It was 3-0. You thought, well, it's not going to get too embarrassing. Just don't concede a goal. That's kind of minimum stuff. And then I think it was work by Dessers again. Something happened on the right hand side. The ball got flashed across the goal, and at the back post came Ross McCausland, right hand side, and he rifled it into a fairly empty net, a fairly open goal. That was 4-0, and there was 60 minutes. We started the kind of pre-season friendly level of substitutions, bearing in mind we're playing a team on Thursday night who we played in a pre-season friendly at Murrayfield. I wanted to keep everybody ticking over, but then you got Bailey Rice coming on, number 49. He immediately takes a ball to the face and is semi-concussed for 2 or 3 minutes, but settled in to have a nice wee half hour to himself. And young Curtis, he has got the 52 on his back. Fraser Curtis, is it? He's got the 52 on his back. That's how many goals he's going to score for us in the league next season. He was getting closer and closer with his efforts, never got a goal, which is unfortunate for him, but he's been getting rave reviews for his goal scoring ability with the B team, so it was good to see him getting a wee run out. And we also brought on Ridvan at right back. Ridvan coming at right back, and Tav moved into centre half as we took proper come off, didn't he? And then later on, I think it was just as we're about to sing God Save the King, Leon King, who I thought would have got a game, and I thought he would have got a run out today. He didn't even get 10 minutes. He came on, who did get 10 minutes was 88th minute, the one number 10 with 10 minutes to go. 10, Bajrami went off and we brought on 10, the other 10, Hadji, so to give him a wee bit of run. He is not in the European squad for Thursday, so that's he's getting double the rest, I think, ahead of Tannadice next week, which will be absolutely vital. I like Big Balogun. He's obviously been kept in the old cotton buds for doing something to his ears, I like it, ahead of the move to Old Trafford. But it was the 90th minute, and Dessers goes through, takes the ball past the goalkeeper. He's been given the armband. Tav gets subbed off at that point for Leon King, so Tav gives the armband to Dessers. Quite the honour for him, I would say. I've started the game with the biggest miss I've ever seen in my life live, and at the end he hits the post. He'd hit the post with a header, I think. That was denying him the hat-trick. And then right at the end, he takes it past the goalkeeper, but he takes it really wide. But I'm sitting right in line with it, because I'd moved along a seat, because there's so many empty seats around about me just now. I'd moved along one seat, and I'm sitting right in line with the byline at the Copeland Road end, and I could see how brilliantly he just put the fade on it, the cut back that just let it fade, and it drifts into the net, because he was square on the goal. It was basically on the byline, and it was falling as well, I think. So it was a cracking finish, a sublime finish. It went from the ridiculous to the sublime, a bit like Rangers' season, hopefully. And that was it. That was 3-0. I mean, I don't know if I had the draw yet for the next round. We could have drawn Celtic at Parkhead, and I'd be quite happy if we did. Quite frankly, I think we'd be due to beat them there. So that's that. I think I've talked. No, that's a bloody hour for a post-match reaction pod outside the ground yesterday. Yesterday, as I say, we ended up going for a cappuccino, and we went to Smug. Great wee cafe. Always go to. End up going to Smug. You always think that's the place you want to go to. It's just up the back of the Marks and Spencers. That's just off Byers Road. What is that hill? What's that street called? It goes up a hill. It's just off Byers Road anyway. The Marks and Spencers up there, and it's just where the car park is at the back of Ashton Lane. It's Smug, and it's always absolutely roasting. The staff are always lovely, and the wee cakes and that are fantastic. The service is always really chilled out and cool. It was so roasting in there that I just sat outside, and I got a cappuccino, and I got an Empire biscuit. Sorry, Empire biscuit. I'm not having one of them. Empire biscuit, and it was the depths of the icing on it, the proper icing, like still soft. And the wee orange sweetie in the tappy, and the biscuit was just crunchy enough but just soft enough. The jam was beautifully thick, and the cappuccino was absolutely sensational. And this is one of your wanky metaphors, isn't it? This is one of your stupid analogies, you know. But don't tell me. That was us. We were playing Aberdeen the other night, and that's like a few pints and a bag of chips, no league stuff, bit of a derby, and then we played. We've got Manchester United on Thursday night, and that's like caviar and champagne, you know. We'll go to them in Europe, a European club competition. So the day was just like a wee cuppa and a biscuit. No, it's just, I go to the West End and have coffees. I'm better than you. That's all I'm trying to say, really. That's what I'm really trying to say. You know, that's just, it feels like Manchester. Remember the last time we played Manchester United, we played them a couple of times in the Champions League. I'm not, you know, as you can tell, I'm the only violence I'm really doing is to myself. I couldn't find my way out of a wet paper bag, and I don't like to sully the name of Rangers, or just, you know, basically terrible things can happen if you get involved in violence. It's not just a wee dust up at football, it could just go really wrong. People die all the time for single punches and just falling on curbstones and things like that. So I don't really, I do all my best to avoid any kind of soccer violence in general, but the only time I've ever really felt like just going, was part of the wee guy, you know, and his mum and that in the pram at the start there that was annoying me. I think the second time we played, the second time Man U beat us 1-0 at home in the Champions League, and I was up the Govan just kind of taking a wee look. They were getting held back, and they were doing that thing of singing, "We're Man United, we'll do what we want." I just thought, no, here you will, Oh, not here you won't. Not here you won't. Not at Alex Forsyth's testimonial. You won't. Where apparently we took the Stretford end. So I'm not in any way. I'm not in any way advocating Rangers do anything like that. Particularly the fans travelling down there on Thursday. But all the very best to them. And we'll have a proper preview of that on Wednesday. But aye, we've gone from Highland League clubs, a very, very domestic affair, to the battle of the two biggest clubs in Britain. Let's be honest. On Thursday, and it would mean the absolute world to me if we went down there and took their cappuccino and just spilt it over their wee laps. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday trips. I'll talk to you Wednesday.